What's up, you guys? Anthony here. Welcome back to another video. And in this video, I want to give you guys a strategy for direct response dropshipping or branded dropshipping that I used to scale this store to almost $7,000 in a single day after being kind of stuck at 1K a day, truthfully, on this particular store, and share with you a strategy that allowed me to achieve this breakthrough and hit almost $7,000 about a couple days ago. So let's go ahead and walk through the strategy and jump into the video. So the strategy is very simple. We're using a very simple advertorial funnel. And typically when people say funnel, they're usually referring to some form of customer journey after someone is on the platform like Facebook or Instagram. They click on an ad, and then every interaction, every subsequent interaction that takes place is referred to as a customer journey or could be referred to as a funnel. So this strategy that I use and that I teach inside of my community is to run ads to a pre-sale page, which is what this landing page is. So we run the traffic. Instead of sending that traffic to a product page, we send it to a pre-sale page, otherwise called an advertorial or a listicle or a quiz. And then any of the traffic that consumes the information on that page will then get moved to the actual product page where we present an offer, we present the benefits, the features, and we actually try and sell the product. Then they go through the checkout, or then they go through the cart, then the checkout, then they purchase. Now, if you've ever tried this style of dropshipping, number one, I'm not the first person to promote this style of dropshipping. In fact, there's many other larger, more prominent YouTubers that are already pushing the strategy. And so my strategy is not different from theirs in terms of the overall funnel setup, meaning running ads to a advertorial to a product page. The way that I differ in the setup that I haven't really seen many people talk about, which if you've tried to run advertorials in the past, you've probably not been able to see very much success. And it's probably really frustrating, especially when you see creators making content explaining to you that these are kind of the next best thing, right? These are the things, and these are the styles of pages that are going to get you to $1,000 a day as quickly as possible. And the mistake that I see a lot of dropshippers make that I want you guys to fix is that I see a lot of beginner dropshippers is they'll find, a set of prompts online and they'll write an advertorial straight away, test it on cold traffic with completely brand new ads, new campaigns, new ad sets, and it will completely flop. Why is that? The reason why I believe that to be the case is because you actually want to, and what you're doing is essentially you're putting the cart before the horse or the horse before the cart, whatever that phrase is. Basically, you're writing the advertorial way too early. So no matter how good your advertorial prompts are, whether you use my prompts, whether you use any other creator's prompts, whether you have your own prompts, it doesn't matter how good your AI prompting is. If you don't have the right messaging, and this is the key difference maker between a winning advertorial that can, take a brand to $7,000 per day and an advertorial that just completely flops, is the messaging, meaning what you're actually saying on the advertorial. And a lot of the times beginners create advertorials and they don't actually know what to say. And so my strategy that I want to show you guys in this video is how to create the advertorial by actually using your ad creatives to validate the messaging first. Or in other words, to prove that one specific type of messaging is actually profitable against your target audience. And then after you figure that out, now you go write the advertorial. So instead of trying to write the advertorial first, coming up with all these different angles, what you actually want to do instead, and what's worked for me and several of our students, in fact, I'll just show you full disclosure. A lot of the wins that we've had have been awesome. I mean, shout out to Jalen, just hit his first $3,000 day. Gafar, he's got sales coming in, a couple $100. Amazing. Christian getting his first sale. Bryce absolutely crushing it, starting to scale up a little bit. We've got, first 1K days all throughout the group, 100K week. So just honestly, pages and pages and pages of results. And the strategy that all of these guys are employing is they're validating the messaging in the ad account first before they do any type of pre-sale pages or landing pages. And so what does that process actually look like? If we know that when we validate the messaging with the ad, it substantially increases the hit rate or success rate of an advertorial, what is messaging? Like, Anthony, when you say validate the messaging, what does that even fucking mean? Like outside of the marketing jargon. And essentially, when it comes to messaging, there's really two primary things that you need to figure out before you write any sales letter, whether it's a VSL, whether it's an advertorial, whether it's a simple UGC ad. There's really only two things that really matter. And if you get these two things right, you can do whatever you want visually, aesthetically. You could do, this kind of image with the advertorial. It doesn't fucking matter. Okay. So what we do is, and our strategy is, we start every product and we focus exclusively on sending the ad, and we send this to a PDP. A lot of you guys ask in the comments, okay, Anthony, if I'm going to run this strategy with native style ads, where do I send the traffic to? The answer to that question is you always send the traffic first to your product page. Now, the reason why we send our ads to the product page first is for a couple of different reasons. But number one, we just want proof the offer is converting. So a big part of making sure that you are building a branded dropshipping business and scaling it to 1K a day as quickly as possible is having a really good offer. And I'm telling you guys, if you have a really good no-brainer offer, meaning an offer where the value so far exceeds the price that it feels like a no-brainer, like for example, buy one, get two free plus free shipping and a free gift. That's a really, really good offer where you're getting so much free value. It feels like, if you can get that for $29.99, it feels like a steal, right? Or buy one, get one free plus a free gift. Buy one of your hero product, get 20% off the complimentary product, things like that. So all we want to do is make sure that the offer is converting, because even with suboptimal creatives, suboptimal landing pages, if the offer is really good, it will convert. So that's the first reason why we run the traffic to the PDP first. And secondly is we use the ads to figure out the messaging. Okay. So we're basically using and what we want to do is use the ads to figure out the messaging. And in order to make sure that as we're testing messaging with our ads, that the variables in our test the other variables in our test remain constant, then all of that traffic needs to go to the same page. So if we're going to test 5 different pieces of messaging in our ads, we want to make sure all of those ads are going to the same landing page. That way we know if there's a difference in performance amongst any of those, that it has nothing to do with the landing page. So I see a lot of people create like tailored landing pages or specific landing pages for specific angles, and that's not what you want to do. You want to send all that traffic to a generalized product page with benefits, features, your typical standard Shopify PDP, and then do the testing on the messaging. So that is why we send the traffic to the PDP first. And you're probably wondering, okay, in terms of the ad, what is the messaging? When you say validate the messaging and prove that it's converting, what does that actually mean? Okay, so when we say validate the messaging, what that essentially means is with every product, the first round of creative tests, the first set of creatives that you're going to test for are going to be testing for mass desire. Okay. So when you get a product and you've got your product page fully built out, the first set of creatives that you're going to test are creatives that are testing for mass desires. What is a mass desire? Very simply put, a mass desire, we'll do this in a smaller one. A mass desire is essentially what people want to get out of your product. Okay. That is all a mass desire is. What do people want to get out of your product? Could be, let's say you sell a cat water fountain. Could be people want to have their cat live a little bit longer. Maybe they want to avoid expensive medical bills. Maybe they want to prevent a horrifying emergency. Or if you take a weight loss supplement, people could want to obviously lose weight. People could want to feel more confident about themselves. People could want to fit into their jeans better. There's all different kinds of mass desires, but ultimately people are buying products because they want to get something out of your product. They don't want the actual product itself. Like people, for example, people don't buy my course because they want 10 hours worth of video content and all these written documents and all this shit. They want what they think having access to those things will get them, which is $1,000 a day with branded dropshipping. So they typically want a result, an outcome, something out of your product and not your product itself. And that's why the first test that you do needs to be to figure out what do people actually want to get out of your product. So for example, a really good example of this is if you have a product, let's just say this is your product, and let's say this is like a, we'll say this is like a neck pillow, okay? And the temptation here is to automatically assume that someone who wants a neck pillow wants to get rid of neck pain, right? That is the automatic assumption that you make. And a lot of beginner dropshippers are actually going to assume that. They're going to think, okay, what problem does my product solve? It's a neck pillow, so therefore it must solve neck pain, and that's what I'm going to test all of my creatives against. And I've seen this time and time and again when people in our group go through desire testing. It is almost always a completely different desire than what the actual kind of logical or functional benefit of their product is. So a really good example of this is a neck pillow can get rid of neck pain, but maybe, perhaps, a neck pillow, and this is a little bit of a reach, but maybe a neck pillow can get rid of snoring, okay? Notice how it's two totally different types of desires. People who want to get rid of neck pain versus people who want to get rid of snoring. Two totally different desires, but two things that could absolutely be solved by this particular product. Maybe the neck pillow elevates your neck in a certain way, you know what I mean? And allows you to get rid of snoring. Or there could be people that want to, let's see, this neck pillow, let's say people want to be able to breathe better as they sleep, like without CPAP or something, right? Like people who, like my dad, for example, has really bad snoring. So maybe this particular pillow, we could position it as a way that if you sleep in a certain position, it actually promotes better breathing and better circulation. So as you can see, for any particular product, there's usually going to be anywhere from 4 to 5 key mass desires that people could want to achieve or fulfill through your product. And that's the first thing that we want to test. So if this were like an actual Facebook ad campaign, you would see this desire as one ad set. Okay. This would be one ad set. And this would also be its own ad set. Okay. That is your first goal, is to test and figure out what do people want to get out of your product. Once you figure out what people want to get out of your product, let's say we go through this process, and you know what? Let's say it is to get rid of snoring, right? What you're going to do actually first is you're going to set this to, wow, that is really thin. You're going to set this to 100 per DAX per day. Set this to $100 per day and let this run for 72 hours. Okay, $100 a day, 72 hours. See which of these performs the best. And let's say after 3 days, you're getting conversions, and the one that's taking the majority of spend and getting the most volume of conversions, that is what we classify as the winning desire. So let's say getting rid of snoring is now the winning desire after a couple of days of testing. Okay, so now that we know at this stage what people actually want to get out of the product, now we can figure out what is a way that we can make people want to get this thing out of the product right now. Because remember, as with anything that people want, everybody wants things, right? Everybody wants to be jacked. Everybody wants to be ripped. Everybody wants to be rich, but not everybody has these things. Everybody wants to lose weight. Not everybody is walking around with a six-pack. The reason for that is because people can have certain wants, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to act on those wants now. And what we need to then test for is how can we make someone want to get rid of snoring right now, so much so that if we send them to an offer for a product page or for a product that promises to get rid of this problem or promises to allow them to achieve this want, that they will take action and buy today. What I am referring to is what we call, and we'll grab this here. Okay. This is what we call step 2 in the process, which is, if I could do a step 2, I guess maybe it doesn't want me to do step 2. So this is what we call the angle, guys. So let's go like that. There. So the angle comes after the desire. The reason why you want to figure out the desire first is because, again, what people want to get out of the product is the most fundamental thing that you need to understand. If you don't know what people want to get out of your product, there's no, like, you can't come up with an angle. You don't even know what people want. So what is the angle? The angle, as we define it, or as I like to define it, I think it's just the simplest way to define it that I've seen, is essentially the story we tell to make someone want their desire now. Okay. So that is the angle, which is the story that we tell to make someone want their desire now. And pretty much any marketing angle is going to be some form, maybe not a full blown out story, but there's a certain narrative. So I guess we could say the narrative that we tell someone to make them want their desire now. And so if we look at a really easy example, let's say, if we do our desire testing and we figure out that getting rid of, let's see, how can I get rid of that? There we go. Let's say our winning desire was to lose weight. Okay. Now, different people are going to want to lose weight, or there's different ways that we can make people want to lose weight now. So for example, if we are sticking with this weight loss example, let's say, let's do that. That looks nice. Actually, let's just keep it super simple. Let's go with some gray. Okay, so different people are going to want to lose weight for different reasons. Let's take, 30-year-old doom scrolling, absolute gooning maniac, right? If we tell a story about how, got rejected by women for being overweight, right? You see this with a lot of weight loss ads for brands. A lot of the angles that they use are, keying in on this specific insecurity, which is getting rejected by women for being overweight. So we have this overall mass desire. So if we sell a product, we now know, okay, what is the overall thing that people want to achieve? And there's going to be different stories and different reasons why people want to lose weight. So, again, 30-year-old gooners, particularly men, are probably going to want to lose weight because they want to get more female attention because they've been rejected by women for being overweight. You may have women, conversely, who, if we tell a story about how women who want to fit into their wedding dress, okay? Women might also, feel the same way about getting rejected by men and want to lose weight. Women who want to fit into their wedding dress, right? Or we could say women who feel insecure about how they look after scrolling on Instagram and having that comparison syndrome. Whichever way you slice it, what we're looking for here are essentially the rock bottom, emotional rock bottom moments where the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change, right? If you ask anyone that has gone through a big transformation in their life, they can usually pinpoint one specific moment where enough was enough. They had enough, they were fed up, and they knew right then and there that they were going to make a change. And what we need to do is, through the research process, browsing Reddit, browsing public discussion forums, going on social media, going on TikTok, looking at reviews for other competitor products, we want to find what these emotional rock bottom moments are. And those then become the angles that we use and test for to be able to figure out what is the story that we can tell to make someone want to lose weight right now. So let's just say we're focusing on women specifically. These are 3 entirely separate angles in and of themselves. And what we'll do is, in the ad account, is we'll launch these as, you guessed it, their own individual ad sets. So we would have, and you've probably heard other YouTubers, Facebook advertisers talk about, you want to separate your ad sets by concept or angle. This is essentially what we're doing here, where we have 3 unique ad sets in the same CBO campaign that you were testing for desires. And now that you've figured out like what people actually want to get out of your product, now we can test for what specific story is going to make them want to achieve that result or get what they want to get right now. So we've got being rejected by the opposite sex, women who want to fit into their wedding dress, who feel insecure about how they look after scrolling on Instagram. And what you're going to do is same exact protocol. You're going to let this run for another 72 hours. Oh my gosh. And your budget should still be 100 per day. And you just let that to run. Literally just leave that to run. And then once you figure out, usually one of these is going to take majority of spend. And let's say this is the ad set that takes majority of spend. Okay. At this stage, now that you've gone through this process, you should have, okay, you've got your desire here. You've got your angle here. Okay. So in other words, if we zoom in on this, okay, you've got desire, you've got the angle. So you know, in other words, what people want to get out of your product, and you know the story that you can tell to make them want to get it now. You know people want to lose weight. You know that if you tell a story about that somehow involves women getting rejected by men for being overweight and transforming their lives with your product, you can then sell them on the product effectively. So you have the desire, you have the angle. Now with these things in mind, ideally at this stage, you're also converting profitably on the product page. Now what you do is now you write the advertorial. Now that you actually know what to say in the advertorial. So you have the messaging dialed in and you have it validated, you have it converting. Now you can bring the messaging into the advertorial. And this is the process that we go through and the strategy that you can steal and implement right now into your dropshipping business, especially if you are selling problem-solving products. This might not work as effectively for clothing, truthfully. So if you're selling any type of clothing item, shapewear, but I'm talking about brands that are doing like actual, just like t-shirts and pants. And if you're trying to do that kind of thing, this probably won't work out as much for you. But if you are selling problem-solving products, typically this works best for audiences that are 35 and up on Facebook. This is the strategy that you can steal. And again, the mistake that most beginners make is they'll write the advertorial first, and then they'll just go straight to the PDP like this. And then they won't really know why it's not converting because they try to do it like this. And what you want to do is do this. And at every stage, what we're essentially doing is we're isolating the variables that we're testing. So with every subsequent test, and as you're adding on more pieces into your ad account and onto your business, you're adding on also increasingly more proven variables. So what I mean by that is once you test for a winning desire, you have essentially locked that variable in as a proven variable. So when you go to test for angles, you already know that if you isolate just the angle, you already have a proven desire. So you have essentially another winning variable there. When you get to the advertorial process, you should have a proven angle. So now you have two locked in proven variables in your next test. And with every subsequent test, as long as you're isolating the variables, and with each test, you should be adding more and more proven variables, then that is going to make your hit rate on tests significantly higher, which is why a lot of members in our group who test out advertorials for the first time end up hitting a really good success rate. Typically, like first one or two advertorials are really strong right out of the gate. And that's because we're doing the validating of the messaging first, figuring out what is the desire. Once we figure out the desire, what is the angle? Then once we figure out the angle, then we go and write the advertorial. So guys, copy this strategy. Let me know how it works if you decide to implement this as always. But yeah, that's basically going to do it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed the content as always. If you did, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions that you want to ask me, drop them in the comments below. I'm going to try something out where in the next video, I actually answer the comments that you guys have, particularly with regards to strategy. So only things that have to do with strategy or ad accounts or media buying. If you drop those in the comments below, I'm going to try to answer them in the next video. In addition, if you have any other ideas for content that you guys would like to see, any things that you guys are particularly struggling with, that way I can provide value to you, let me know in the comments below as well. Really quick, if you are someone who is interested in learning how to start and scale a branded dropshipping business to $1,000 a day using this exact strategy, then I would definitely encourage you guys to check out God Tier Ecom. It's going to be linked as the first link in the description below. Full disclosure, it is my private course and community where I teach people how to do this strategy in a little bit more detail, step by step, in 3 simple steps, how to start and scale your first branded dropshipping business to $1,000 a day. There's a bunch of bonuses in there like spy tools, themes, coaching calls, weekly Q&A calls. All of that is in there. And right now, if you sign up, you can actually get 1 year at 60% off, which is about the same cost as 5 months currently. So it's a really good deal. You can just join for an entire year. And usually, if you're someone who's serious, you end up wanting to stick around for a year, as a lot of our members have at this point. So yeah, there's also a 7-day money back guarantee. So if you try it and you hate it, you can get your money back. Is going to be linked as the first link in the description. As usual, though, any resources that I mentioned, like in terms of if you want to know how to actually come up with angles, how to come up with desires, how to do the research to figure out what the desires are, I have a document that's linked underneath in the description of this video as well. It's called Pain Diving, and it contains everything from start to finish, including the research, all the way to the writing the ads, writing the advertorials. All of that is linked in the second link of the description of this video as well. So God's Your Ecom, first link in the description. If you're serious about starting and scaling a branded dropshipping business to $1,000 a day, we'd love to have you in. Second link is any and all resources that I used in executing the strategy. So hope you guys enjoyed the content as always. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.